What sort of life would you have to have so that you could bear your suffering nobly? That's a good question to ask yourself. When your perceptions are fractured, you're in pretty rough shape. But that's okay. Get it down. Get a rough first draft down, right? A rough approximation of who you could be if you got your act together. Not who other people think you should be. Not who other people think you should be.
Recently, there's been a slew of videos on YouTube where YouTubers basically voice out their frustrations and discontentment, if you will, with regards to the current day American way of life. The very fast-paced way of life and the work culture, of course, which many people think is not normal. To which effect you find lots of these videos with titles such as "The way we live in America is not normal," "The American dream is dead," and a lot more. And you listen to these videos and you find out that these people are 1000% right. The mere fact, by the way, that these videos are gaining so much traction, you find thousands of views on such videos, is very telling. It tells you that people are concerned for the most part. People can feel it somewhere within them that there is something wrong with the current American way of life. But then I go a little bit further to ask myself the question, why is it the case? Because it doesn't just suffice knowing that there is a problem or that the current day American way of life is normal without understanding the reasons why. Because if we would understand the situation deeply, then we could go on to fix our own personal realities. And by the way, we've got to understand that this is not just an American thing. It's not just typical of America, but of the West. This is a Western thing, the conceptual West, if you will. Except that it's worse in America because of the whole idea of the American dream. And so it is a Western thing. Let's get that clear from the very beginning. The same issues you find in America, you would find in Australia, you'll find in most parts of Europe, except maybe in lesser degrees. But then we ask the question, how did the West get to this point where life is just so fast-paced and everything seems to circle around money and work, leaving its people depressed and for the most part dissatisfied by life? And the answer to that is simple. The credit card. This one item, my friends, has enslaved hundreds of millions of people all around the world, especially in the Western world, where they're common.
New cars, new clothes, new toys, no problem. Just whack it on the card.
Americans owe almost $1 trillion in credit card debt.
But by the way, let's be very clear from the very beginning that the whole idea of the credit card is not bad in itself. Actually, it could be a very, very wonderful tool for anyone who is financially wise and has a great sense of discipline over their emotions. But such category of people, my friends, account for a very, very small fraction of the society. And so the majority of the people, who of course are ignorant, are bound to wallow in suffering under the spell of the credit card, in that it overshadows for individuals one of the core golden rules of financial success, which is living within one's means, as the ignorant population is coerced, persuaded, and manipulated into all sorts of credits. And these credits, my friends, become the shackles that they wear to their own very feet and move around as happy slaves.
How much do you spend a week on your credit card?
Oh, 1,500?
And you don't blink at that?
Not at all. Nothing.
It's a lot of money.
It's all right. It's happiness.
And look at the price, really. If you love it, you love it. That's it. Get it. Don't have hesitations about it. Don't have second thoughts.
What, whack it on the card?
Yeah, and pay it off later. It's like a take-home lay-by.
78% of you that use credit cards do not pay it off every month.
If we could use an allegory for better understanding, we could say a credit card is pretty much like a knife handed to a child. Now, the knife in itself isn't bad because it serves us greatly and in multiple situations. But you need to be an adult, intelligent, and trained to understand that as much as a knife could be used for cutting and peeling and all we're not in the kitchen, it could also cut your hand if you do not use it well. And these credit card companies generally understand that the people, the vast majority of the people, are like children who have no understanding of how to use a knife. And they understand that it's just a matter of time before they themselves with the knife, and they come sucking the blood and tears of their victims.
We're targets. We are targets to the bank because we know that they know that we're gullible. They know that, you know, anything they say will just follow. You know, it's just they're the leader and we're just, you know, the little people walking behind them. Give me money.
We live in societies where you go through the entire educational system, learn all sorts of things, good, bad, and ugly, but not for a single day are you taught anything about financial education and how to build wealth and how to manage credit and all that. And so at the end of the day, you have a society of very, very intelligent people who just do not understand what money is, talk less of handling it. And the consequence of that, of course, is enslavement. People literally shackling themselves. They walk into offices all by themselves and shackle their feet with credits. And so these companies hand out extremely sharp knives to kids. In other words, they hand out these credit cards to people who they know are extremely vulnerable. They know for a fact that the vast majority of people have no control over themselves, have no control over their emotions, have no knowledge around financial education, and no knowledge on credit, and no knowledge on interest and compound interest. They know for a fact that the vast majority of people are sheeple and have no clue what's going on. And so they hand them these sharp knives, these credit cards, if you will, and then go on to persuade them by way of some of the most powerful adverts imaginable. Results? Their societies are enslaved by all the numerous loans and debts assigned upon themselves. And so at the end of the month, you have multiple loans you have to repay over things you may not really need in the first place. You got a mortgage on your house, you got a car note, your entire house is equipped on credit, you got all sorts of bills. And what does that do? It builds pressure all around you. It builds an invisible load over your head. And the only way you can keep going is by working constantly like a slave in order to pay for the many liabilities assigned to your name. And somehow you've been convinced to think that's the only way you got to live. That makes you a slave, working 2-3 jobs a day to keep up with a lifestyle that you do not really need. And so you got no rest time, you got no time to spend with your family, you got no time to spend with friends, and what next? Depression and a lot more. And so what's the point of this video actually? The point I'm trying to make is this. If you would educate yourself enough around money, then you would understand that the path of freedom is the path void of the credit card. It's the path where you get to live within your means. It's the path where Dave Ramsey says you get to ditch your credit card and only get to use a debit card. If you would understand all these and educate yourself around money enough, then you would come to the realization that you can live a heavenly reality in whatever country you live in. And so what's my take-home message? Educate yourself around money. Get some financial education. Read books. Listen to podcasts that talk about money and financial freedom. Unshackle yourself from the many unnecessary loans and be a free person. Live very well within your means. Take away the invisible load and see a smile come to your face again. You'd be a happier person in a $10,000 used car paid for cash than a $100,000 brand new car where you have to work like a slave just to pay for it each month over a couple years. You'd be a happier person renting than having to pay exorbitant amounts in mortgages every month. And the list goes on. Educate yourselves, my friends. Get free and be happy again. Thank you. Bye-bye.